In the heart of a war-torn region, where the sky was perpetually painted with the hues of smoke and ash, there was a small, isolated village. It was a place forgotten by time, where the only sounds were the distant echoes of gunfire and the occasional howl of the wind. Amidst this desolate backdrop, a young girl named Amina found herself alone, abandoned by her family in their desperate bid to escape the conflict. Amina was no more than 12 years old, with eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 stories and a heart that was both brave and fragile. She had always been told to stay hidden, to wait for her family's return. But as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, hope began to dwindle. The village was a labyrinth of ruins, with crumbling houses and overgrown gardens. Amina lived in the only house that still stood somewhat intact, a small cottage on the outskirts of the village. She spent her days scavenging for food and supplies, always keeping a watchful eye out for any signs of danger. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the village in an eerie twilight, Amina heard a strange noise. It was a low, mournful cry that seemed to come from the abandoned well in the center of the village. The well had been sealed off years ago, but the sound was unmistakable. It was as if someone, or something, was calling out from beneath the earth. Curiosity and fear wrestled within Amina. She had always been warned about the well, told that it was cursed, but the desperation in the cry was haunting. As night fell, she found herself drawn to the well, her heart pounding in her chest. With a deep breath, Amina approached the well and peered into its dark depths. The cry had stopped, replaced by an unsettling silence. Suddenly, a faint whisper echoed up from the well, a soft voice calling her name. Amina, Amina, come down. The voice was both familiar and strange, sending shivers down her spine. It sounded like her mother, but it couldn't be. Her mother was gone, lost in the chaos of war. Yet, the longing in the voice was undeniable. Without thinking, Amina began to descend into the well, her hands finding holds in the old stone. The air grew colder, the darkness more profound, until she reached the bottom. There, she found herself in a small, damp chamber, lit by a faint, flickering light. In the center of the room was a figure shrouded in shadows. As Amina approached, the figure slowly rose, revealing a woman with eyes that seemed to hold all the sorrow of the world. It was her mother, or at least it looked like her mother. But something was wrong. The woman's eyes were black as coal, and her skin was deathly pale. She reached out a hand, beckoning Amina closer. "I've been waiting for you," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Amina felt a chill run down her spine. This wasn't her mother. It was something else, something that had taken her form. Yet, the longing in her heart was too strong. She reached out, and as their hands touched, the world around her began to spin. When Amina came to, she was back in her cottage, the sun rising over the horizon. It was as if the entire encounter had been a dream, but the memory of those black eyes lingered. She knew then that she wasn't alone in the village. There were things lurking in the shadows, waiting for her. From that day on, Amina lived in a state of perpetual fear and vigilance. She knew that she had to escape, to find her way out of the war zone and back to her family. But until then, she was trapped in a world of horrors, with only her courage to guide her through the darkness. And so, Amina waited, her heart filled with hope and her spirit unbroken, even as the shadows around her seemed to grow longer and darker with each passing day.